Timeless, Chapter 9, Part 2. Knocking on the ornate door, Shifting waited patiently, until...
Come in.
Making his way inside, Shifting glanced around the orderly room, noticing rows of bookshelves and two large desks inside the study. "You wanted to see me, Luna? Celestia mentioned that on my way here," he asked, ears twitching in curiosity, especially on observing the wide grin sliding onto the alicorn's features.
I did, but first I wanted to get an update on your recruits. It has been almost a week since we have last talked. I've been just as busy as you have.
Luna sighed, flopping onto her desk and shoving a pile of papers out of her way. "Well, we're starting on the catch-up combat training tomorrow, and they're all caught up in every other aspect. I would feel comfortable assigning them low-security details, even with their current spotty combat experience. I'd say within a few weeks, they'd be full qualified as night guards, and a few can start helping me train the next batch. I'll have my hopes full training another batch regardless." Shifting relayed, watching the alicorn curiously as she hummed.
That is good to hear. You have certainly exceeded my expectations.
"Do I sense a butt coming?" Luna giggled, waving a hoof at the stallion with a shake of her head, then getting up to stand in front of him.
The but is that you're assuming all of your time in the future will simply be training.
Shifting blinked, head tilting curiously. "Is that not my assignments? I don't understand." Luna grinned, gesturing to the sergeant's breastplate.
I think your other armor is much more suitable.
The stallion's eyes widened, the realization of what exactly Luna was getting at starting to fall into place. Wait, are you saying... Standing up to her full height, Luna spread her wings slightly, looking down at her loyal sergeant.
Sergeant Shifting Sands?
She remarked, eyes aglitter with mirth and determination.
Due to your exemplary actions, I and my sister have agreed to offer you a new position.
A slight tremor ran up Shifting's limbs, excitement starting to build in his frame. "Luna, how are you?"
I would prefer to wait until the night guards are fully trained, but our enemy lacks that restraint. As you recommend, I believe an elite force of ponies are needed at this time, operating above and beyond what a night guard can handle.
Luna spread her wings fully, levitating a familiar and cleaned-up amulet over to Shifting. A pearly white moon shone back at him, expertly crafted into the dark blue, almost black amulet, the pendant having been restrung on a sturdier cord. A new rank was now etched into the metal, and warmth blossomed in Shifting's chest as Luna smiled down at him, returning the item that he had once surrendered.
I admit that this is sudden, but Equestria needs your unique talents once again. This cannot wait any longer, and I think that you have more than proven yourself. I have decided that it is time the Lunar Knights make their reappearance. Shifting. Will you lead them? Will you select, train, and oversee the creation of my old guard once again, Commander?
Shifting drew in a sharp breath, emotion tightening his throat as the stallion carefully donned the pendant. With a tap of his hoof, his armor weaved itself around the sergeant's frame, complete with full breastplate, gauntlets, and saber. As a familiar helmet buckled around Shifting's head, the unicorn drew his weapon and placed it point first into the floor. "Your Highness, I am honored by this duty." Shifting couldn't help but grin, his eyes narrowing in excitement as he saluted his princess sharply. "And I accept." Luna bowed her head with a smile to the loyal pony, levitating a small stack of papers over to Shifting.
Then let us make it official, Commander Shifting Sands of the Lunar Knights.
It was only as Shifting signed his name that the full weight of responsibility began to settle on his shoulders, and yet it was all bolstered by the knowledge that he could do this. "I'm not alone in this effort. I've trained hundreds on my own, and now I have the support of Luna and the Night Guard. The Lunar Knights will return in all of their splendor, of that I promise." "So to clarify, Luna," Shifting asked, signing the last form and reading through the summaries of each briefly. "I am to oversee all the training? I can assume I can appoint a committee and the like, and if I'm reading this correctly, the accelerated training and such is simply due to the current crisis? I can handle the training of perhaps a squad or two of each on my own, but past that is beyond my ability, especially if I'm overseeing security and such." Luna nodded, not able to resist looking over Shifting head to tail briefly. Judging from the slight blush on her cheeks, he wore the armor rather well.
Correct. We don't have any others who can train as of yet, so you must oversee the final training of the basic Night Guard. And then the Lunar Knights, once others can take over your previous drill sergeant position. She explained.
"I actually have a few ideas about that. Candidates to train others, as well as who may be suited for the Lunar Knights." Shifting mused, prompting a raised eyebrow.
Oh?
"I'll run a test tomorrow or the day after. Those demonstrating a certain tenacity will be allowed in, since this position will require lethal force. The stallion I'd previously had some respect issues with, Bitterblade, has shown remarkable patience and initiative in teaching struggling students." Luna let out an intrigued hum at that, sitting down and listening in curiously. "With a bit of training, he'd make a good drill sergeant. All of this is going to be a tad bit rushed, but I agree with your assessment. I'd rather have ponies with some training that was rushed rather than no combat experience. It goes against what I'd prefer, taking things slow, but we're out of time. The bombing demonstrated that. Luna nodded, blowing out a frustrated breath.
Indeed, and that is the challenge I am presenting to you. Let it be known, Shifting, your appointment to this position is rushed, but not because you weren't ready. I'd prefer to have you finish training the recruits and then move on to the Lunar Knights. But as you said, we are out of time.
She smiled, the gesture making Shifting's heart glow with warmth.
Personally, I think you would have been worthy of this position ever since you saved my life. You just needed to prove to me that you could handle the responsibility. And training 30 recruits had done just that, among a list of other things.
Shifting was all smiles, letting his armor fade away with a quick spell, and prompting a slight pout from the princess.
Oh, I thought you looked fantastic in it.
She grumbled, prompting a chuckle from the commander. Oh, I'll keep that in mind for our date, of which I finally have a plan. Miss Luna, are you free tomorrow night? Shifting asked, bowing his head and offering a hoof formally, trying his hardest not to laugh. His gesture earned the stallion a genuine blush as Luna placed her hoof in his, nodding eagerly.
I most certainly am. What do you have in mind?
Shifting let her hoof go, with a bit of reluctance. He shook his head, then waved a hoof to the city outside of her window. The main activity I would like to remain a surprise, if that is acceptable. However, I thought a simple and quiet meal overlooking the city would be nice. If you'd like, I also might have reserved the first edition of a classical art manual discussing what each artist may have meant with their various pieces. If the historian was correct, very few had a chance to read it. Waiting for a response, Shifting spent the majority of his energy trying not to fidget. He had spent hours getting everything in place and perusing activities that seemed to fit Luna's fancy. Did he? The smallest sniffle caught his attention, the stallion's ear snapping upright as Luna swiped a forelimb across her eyes, a wide smile on her face despite a bit of quavering in her voice.
Shifting, that sounds lovely,
Luna managed to say, her loyal knight leaning forward, a bit of worry shining in his gaze. She waved him off, letting out an embarrassed huff and managing to regain a bit of decorum, yet that was slightly shattered by the wide grin that refused to leave her muzzle, nor the dampness that refused to vacate her eyes.
Sorry, I haven't had a pony ask me out on such a beautiful outing in ages. If I may ask, did you cheat and ask my sister?
Luna questioned, prompting a proud grin from Shifting. Oh, I am wounded. I most certainly did not cheat and ask your sister, Shifting proclaimed, then dropped his gaze to the floor with a bit of reddening on his cheeks. I did, however, look through the items that you visited on your day off from various papers, and then a bit of guesswork in what I know about you. I did tell Celestia about her date, though, and she approved. I thought it only fitting, though. I don't want your sister to feel as though I ignore her familial position. The stallion jumped slightly, a blue hoof bringing him close for a brief hug.
That's very sweet, Shifting, and I thank you. I think my sister appreciated that much more than she portrayed,
Luna remarked, letting him go with a giggle.
I'm impressed by your detective skills and rather flattered. I look forward to tomorrow. May I at least get a hint for the main activity?
Shifting smiled, tapping a hoof to his chin, and thought. A hint? I don't think that's fair. Besides, during a mystery, it's the process that's the interesting part. Luna's eye twitched slightly, her glare definitely softened by the smile on her face.
That is an interesting clue.
Oh, I didn't mean to ask. You can eat dairy, correct? The stallion asked, prompting a perplexed look from Luna.
Yes? Why?
Shifting trotted forward, leaning in close. Because I'd hate to make my jokes too cheesy. Luna promptly face-huffed, letting out a groan.
That was horrible, Shifting. Shame on you.
Hey, at least now I can make up for such jokes with my commanding presence. Shifting grinned, prompting a sigh from the still grinning alicorn.
Oh no.
Man, when you run out of clever ideas, puns are like the last resort, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but damn, that kinda hurt in the ears. Anyways, let's get on to our cheesy donators. Top donators: Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Taco Cat 598, Zar 630, Strix, Rayden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Love Dragon, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Crazy Killer 557, Stu Hex, Will, Omicron Lyre, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Hadge, Runescythe 9852, Madman Stan, Leslie Perkett, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, Line God 12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hut Zaza, Life Giver, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.